Well, joining me now is Liat Hughes Joshi, a journalist and author of 5 books on parenting. She believes this move is a good thing. That's very different, though, to mum and former school governor and vice chair of the Campaign for Real Education, Ivens. And also joining us is parenting guru Sue Atkins. Good evening to all of you ladies. Liat, let's start off with you. You are anti-smacking. I mean, why do you think it should be banned?
Well, fundamentally, smacking doesn't work anyway. There are 2 reasons why parents tend to smack their children. The first would be to try and, because they believe it will make them behave better. But the latest research, and there's quite a body of it now, suggests that it does not help children behave better. The second reason parents smack is because they lose their temper. Now, parenting is stressful. We all have bad days at it. But actually, if I have a bad day with someone else in my life, a partner, a colleague, a road rage incident happens, I'm not allowed to smack another adult. So why should I be allowed to smack another child? It sets a really bad example to your children that if you lose your temper and you feel stressed, you hit out at other people.
So, Katie, do you think it is about losing your temper, or do you think it's about disciplining your child?
No, I don't think it's... Well, it shouldn't be about losing your temper, by the way, because I don't actually think you should be brutal with children. I don't think you should beat them and smash them and things like that.
Well, you can't anyway.
You can't, you shouldn't, you just absolutely shouldn't. But when you've got a small child and you don't have all the language that you're talking about the language, how we all explain things to each other. Also, you may be the kind of parent who's not actually very vocal. But what you must do is make sure your child does not get into some kind of danger, for example. I remember with my little boys, I used to want them to feel very free about running down the road, but I want them to stop at the curb. And so I remember pursuing one of my little boys. When we got to the curb, I shook him. I said, no, no, no. And I gave him a little smack. It's so dangerous, you could be run over by a car. And he went like that. And he got the message. And from then on, he used to run freely down the road. And I did it with my second child. So I didn't just use it as a routine punishment, but I was at an advantage. I'm a person who's actually quite vocal. Right. So was my husband. Right. My husband used to make funny jokes to make the point about how they should behave. So some of us parents are in a stronger position for, controlling and disciplining our children vocally than others. And we must understand that some parents are not as vocal as others, and they have to control their children. They have to make sure their children are safe and that they don't do really bad things. Let's
pause for a second, because I want to bring Sue in. We've heard there the experiences of Katie, even herself as a mother. She felt that even a tap on the hand, that was a way of informing and teaching her lesson to her child. I mean, do you think this is an outdated practice or a reasonable form of punishment?
Well, long ago, you'd get the strap, you'd get the cane, you get the slipper, but we do evolve, and we do realise there's a great body of research. Certainly at the University of Texas, there are 160,000 children interviewed and studied over a 50-year period, and smacking doesn't actually work because it doesn't really teach a child anything. They do something wrong, you smack them, they don't then learn from it. The other thing is, when do you start? When they're babies, when they're toddlers? When do you stop? When they're teenagers, 6 foot, and say that didn't hurt? And if parents do it in anger, or they have an alcohol problem, or there is difficulties within the family, it escalates, and it can really set a barrier up between a child and a parent because it damages self-esteem and self-confidence.
Do you ever feel there is a reason for doing it? Do parents have other ways of informing their children?
Yeah, there are so many other better ways to parent and to manage your child's behaviour and to keep them out of danger. It's completely unnecessary to smack them. You can use rewards, you can use other forms of punishment. So, taking away those screens is such a powerful one these days. You can take away privileges. You just simply do not need to smack. And as Sue says, it can cause resentment and a lack of trust between parent and child.
I guess the problem here is parenting is so different, isn't it? What one parent might do is different to the next. Katie, your experiences are obviously very different with your boys and perhaps the next person as well.
Parents I know. There are parents who come from cultures where the way you control your child is definitely physically. OK, they should not be brutal, which are absolutely not, but a smack, come on, it's tactile communication. And I have spoken to parents who've been absolutely frantic because they think they're going to get social workers moving into their family, taking the children away from them, and they feel they cannot control their children. The parents should not be put under this pressure.
Sue, I think you're desperate to jump in there. I mean, do you think it's about parent choice, though, at the end of the day?
Well, what do children learn if you smack them? I mean, if someone hit me in the pub, that would be an assault, and yet children are much smaller than us. And I think there are alternative ways to raise a child. They need firm, fair and consistent boundaries, but it comes from confidence of the parent. I'm interested in this whole debate because actually it raises everybody talking about it and thinking more around positive parenting rather than just that little tap that people always bring up.
I mean, I guess that lots of people think there is a certain area that, you know, I was smacked as a child.
And it didn't do me any harm.
It didn't do me any harm.
I was smacked. No, hang on, because
yes,
I was smacked as a child, and I feel it
Yeah.
did do me harm, actually.
Really, did it?
I feel like it did do me quite a lot of harm.
In what way?
Well, I was terrified at times of the parent who was smacking me, and we did talk about it later on in his life. It was my father who smacked me, and he regretted it later on, and he did it because he felt that it was what he'd grown up with, and he felt that it was right at the time. But I was scared, and it didn't teach me what I was quite a badly behaved child, if I'm honest, and it did not teach me to behave better. So when people say this line of it didn't do me any harm, well, actually, it's not just about personal experiences either, because research shows that it can do people harm. It doesn't do everybody harm.
If you overdo it, it can do harm.
And it's not about wishy-washy parenting. Kids need firm, fair and consistent boundaries.
We are going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, ladies. To be continued, Liat, Katie and Sue, thank you very much.